And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Blood Rage is a phenomenal game. It is my favorite game from 2015, so you know I'm very intrigued with the expansions. This is going to be a short review because this expansion is very simple. The 5th player expansion. Do you know what this adds? That's right, a 5th player. It adds a couple other things I'll show you real quick. It adds, as the rules say, a 5th player, which even if you still want to play with 4, you have now green to play with, and you have the Rams. Now note that my models are painted. The miniatures do not come painted. But the Ram clan reminds me a bit of the Bear clan because they have this, it's just really nice cloaks on them. They look really good. Of course, they have like a ram's skull as their mascot, and then of course they're green. So there's really nothing new here. Now the game has some rule changes for when you play with a 5th player. If you remember, when you play the game, one of the areas on the board is blown up at the beginning. In a 5-player game, that no longer happens. Also, there are more cards added in a 5-player game. Many of the cards that are included in a 5-player game are the same cards you've seen before. Glorious Death, Loki's Dragons, Brother-in-Arms, Tyr's Spite, Smash. So there's duplicates of many of the cards. Interestingly enough, they added the duplicates of the ones where if your ship is destroyed, you get glory. So that, and I think that's useful because in a 5-player game, these cards can be pretty powerful and negative. They also added some new cards that are new to the 5-player expansion only. There's cards that are widespread. If you have the most strength in 2 different provinces, these will score, and there's one of these for each of the different eras, 1, 2, and 3, 7, 10, or 15 points. Here, if you successfully pillage with your leader, you can raise one of your clan stats by 1, and there's a few more things. This one's only +1, but if you win the battle, it's an extra 3 glory. Here's a +3 that I don't believe was in the Age 2 before, and then this one, it's a +8. Yeah, that's right, a +8 in Age 3. Come on now, everyone knows you want to use a +8. So, you know, this is nothing spectacular or different, but these cards are enough cards so that you can add the 5th player and still have enough cards for everybody to draft. Now, some people asked me when Blood Rage came out, and they said, oh, it's not fair. There's all these things that the Kickstarter people got, one of which was the 5-player expansion. And, you know, and I said, I don't know. I just have the base game, and the base game seemed perfectly fine to me. It was the game of the year for me without any of this Kickstarter stuff. Now that I've gotten this 5th player expansion, I am glad because I can play with 5 players. But you know what? It's not necessary. I think playing with 5 players is fine, but it's not as good as playing with 4. I think 4 is where the game really shines. With 5, there's a little bit change in the drafting. You're going to see a few less cards from your original hand, or the second hand at least. There's a little bit more combat fighting going on. Combat becomes slightly more important, and it's easier for your stuff to die. These are small changes, but they can be felt throughout the 5-player game. The 5-player game is, by its very nature, going to be a little bit longer also. Now, I did not dislike it with 5 players. I thought it was fine, and I'm going to keep my 5-player expansion, if for no other reason, to have another faction to mess with. But besides that, I would play this with 5 players. Now, if I had my druthers, I think, like I said, 4 is where it's at. But if someone said 5, I wouldn't go, While there are many games on my shelf that I will not play with 5 players. I think Blood Rage is phenomenal. Do you need this expansion? It is not a necessary expansion unless for some reason you have this great affinity for Rams. The extra cards are cool, but they wouldn't make sense in a 3 or 4 player game. They work really well, especially with 5. You don't need a +8 in a 4-player game. But in a 5-player game, with battles being as big as they can get sometimes, the +8 makes sense. Having strength in 2 different provinces, that makes sense in a 5-player game. There's no new monsters, nothing else here, just basically enough stuff to play a 5th player. And I probably talked too long about it as it is. I still think Blood Rage is phenomenal. This doesn't make it more phenomenal. It just allows a 5th player to play at a slightly less phenomenal rate. That's good enough for me. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in style.
Shut the door.
Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.